Hey, this is the first episode of the Walk It Out series that I want to make. Within the unsolicited diaries, I want to have a more messy kind of episode, which will complement the video ones. Those episodes will be only audio, only you will not see me because I'm recording them as I'm walking. And today I want to talk about what it is like to be an artist who is actively creating their dream life and also embracing what's currently there. I want to talk about that balance, that very subtle balance between the manifestation spirit and mindfulness. How is it possible to hold both the present, what's here and now, what's the reality, and be extremely connected to a future that corresponds to what you want? And I'm really in that kind of cycle right now where I am clearer than I have ever been on what I want to create, on what type of life I envision for myself. And I am committed to enjoying my life right now, right here, as it is. And it is a tricky duality to hold. I would say the more traditional approach to bringing about the life that you want is to basically work your ass off and only focus on your goal without too much space for pleasure, for play, and for joy. But I believe that success is very much linked to pleasure, play, and joy. And that sustainable success in particular, success that doesn't involve burnout and exhaustion and an excessive amount of stress, that kind of success is the kind that I want. Long-term success and the success that doesn't drain you, but on the contrary, energizes you. It comes from every single day choosing to be in your joy, choosing to experience pleasure, even when you are in an uncomfortable situation, in an objectively uncomfortable situation, which is my case at the moment. Of course, I would never be talking about something that I don't experience myself. That's one of the rules in everything that I share. Sometimes I do channel messages that seem very impersonal, but it's more like when I'm speaking to someone and that I'm connecting to their energy. And I'm connecting to the energy of the moment and what's needed in the moment. But if I'm sharing something on this podcast, it will have some kind of resonance with my path, with my experience. Or at least it's my intention. I'm not saying I will never make generalizations. But yeah, broadly speaking, I'll be sharing about things that have touched me personally. And yeah, I am in an uncomfortable situation right now. And very pleased to be able to vulnerably share about it as I'm taking this walk. And noticing the trees, noticing the birds chirping, and just letting myself sink into the moment and feel my feet on the ground. So how do we hold that duality between the reality of the moment, of the present moment, that can sometimes be a challenging reality, and the desired situation that we're aiming at, that we're aiming for? How do we let those two realities merge in some way? First thing I would say is not despise the situation you're in. And if you're feeling any shame around your situation, really look at it, like really be with that shame, because that shame is not something you can actually escape. So it will always catch up with you if you're trying to avoid it, if you're trying to run away from it. If you're not satisfied with your current situation and you're ashamed of it, you think it's your fault. If you are in this situation, then it will be very difficult to actually make it into another better situation. So it's very needed to face what you're currently experiencing and to face the emotions around it. And it's very fun to explore expansion, to explore what you want, and to realize that you already have some version of what you want. You already have some version of the emotion or the energy that you're looking for. And the reason why you're looking for that emotion or that energy in the first place is that deep down you know that you can embody that, can embody that level of joy, of happiness, of fulfillment, that level of, maybe it's, if you're an artist like me, it's like level of shine and recognition and impact and influence, power. Some part of you knows that you are able to embody that. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have the idea in the first place, right? So, where do we go from there? We have fun imagining what it would look like to fully, entirely embody that specific emotion, that specific energy that we want. And we use our imagination, our ability to visualize, our ability to connect to that desired reality. And it is really, it's a magic trick. It's really crazy when you start tuning in to that embodiment that you already have access to, but when you really intentionally tune into it, you start becoming a magnet to opportunities because your vibration changes. And it's a magic trick, but it's also not a magic trick. It's also how, because you think about this dream that you're aiming for, because you consider yourself to be worthy of it, and worthy enough that you really picture the details about it, you emit some kind of signal, and you also are more aware of the signals around you. You're more aware of what's going on. You're more discerning. You know who you want to work with, for example. You are more tuned to your taste, to your vision, to what feels good and what doesn't. And you're going to follow the thread. You're going to follow your intuition easily because you trust that your imagination is a link between you and God, between you and a higher power that is guiding you in silence. And some people will struggle with that manifestation part because, well, first because they don't want to do the shadow work, the dirty work that comes with it. They will just be delusional, and that doesn't work. But another struggle is that some people don't want to experience disappointment. So they will kind of lower down the intensity of their desire and the intensity of their joy for imagining. Because when you start imagining fulfilling your desires, it just triggers an immense amount of joy and pleasure, and allowing yourself to feel that, knowing that it might not happen in the way that you want or in the way that you imagine, is considered for some people, by those of you that are less of risk takers, it will be considered as dangerous. So those are the people who are using this coping mechanism of imagining the worst. They will imagine the worst so that when the worst doesn't happen, they just feel relief. But they will not allow themselves to imagine the best, because then if they don't get the best, they will feel shame, they will feel disappointment, sadness, resentment, injustice, so many things. And they don't want to go through that. It feels like it's going to be overwhelming. So they will lower their ambitions. They will force themselves not to imagine what they're dreaming of. They will force themselves not to feel their desire in its entirety. They will try to be reasonable. They will try to be sensible, to be rational, to be down to earth, all of those things. And there's nothing wrong with being grounded. As I said at the beginning, it's an equal part of the journey. For me, it's really a twofold journey. There's this groundedness, this ability to be content with what you have, what you already have, with your current situation, this ability to fully accept where you're at and to fully trust that you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And the second part is sometimes tricky for some people who are used to grounding themselves to protect themselves. Like grounding, and I know it for a fact as an experience, personal experience. I was that grounded child. My whole childhood, I was the most grounded in my whole family. More grounded than both my parents, more grounded than my brother. They were all very in their heads, in their dreams, in their imagination. Especially my brother and my father. My mom also has a tendency to go into the clouds, but she is a little bit more grounded than the others. I was the most grounded. I was the most grounded for most of my life. I was the pillar, the one who was holding on when everybody was losing their shit, especially emotionally. Um, I have a very vivid memory, which is actually not that old. At funerals, especially at funerals, I've always been the one who holds on, the one who is strong when everybody's crumbling. I had to read my dad's text that he wrote for my grandma's death, because he wasn't able to finish reading it. He was just crumbling. He was tearing up too much, and I had to do the same at my grandfather's funeral. And it became, yeah, it was almost a joke in my head. It was like, am I going to be again that person who's so steady, who's so sturdy, and that people can rely on? So yeah, just a quick detour to make you understand that I do understand what it's like to be in this position of being the pillar, being so grounded, being so connected to reality and to the earth, and making everyone else feel safe, because I have this capacity. It's very, very powerful capacity to be in the present moment, to be accepting of what's happening. Death in particular, I was always very accepting of that. Doesn't mean that I don't feel into my grief, but I guess my process is a bit different from other people. I've always had to accept death from my from my birth story, from a very, very early days. I have had to deal with the reality of death, and to accept it as part of life, as part of reality. And it has liberated me so much from this fear of insecurity and safety, because I am so present, and I am so aware of everything. It allows me to be with the intensity of the moment, which is not something that is easy for most people. So, for those of us who have been trained to hold on and to be sturdy and to be this grounded pillar for others, this anchor, it can be super scary to allow ourselves to dream, to really dream big. And I think for me, my journey has been perfect, because it's always perfect. But I'm only now seeing how perfect it is and how well designed it has been, because I have very progressively allowed myself to dream. First small, we always start small. First, like just allowing myself to experiment with new things, allowing myself to create my first song, not trying to become the best singer-songwriter in my first attempts. I was just exploring, what does it feel like to sing? What does it feel like to create a melody, to create a poem? How does it feel like to express my emotions in this way? And it felt good. And the more I did it, the better it felt. And it made me remember that I had always been creative. I just had forgotten that I was, because I had focused so much on school and on having good grades and being an excellent academic, And so I was writing beautifully, but for school projects. I was no longer writing so much for myself as I used to. I'd always, since I was a kid, I was writing in my journal a lot. I was passionate about writing. And I was also drawing, sketching. I was drawing some fashion designs since I was very little. Even before I could read and write, I would draw some fashion designs. I would draw some dresses. And I would also sketch my professors when I was in high school. I would do some caricatures and people would find them very funny and very accurate. Um, yeah, I'm still walking, so if you hear like motorbikes and different types of noises and sounds, it's normal. Um, so it's been an incremental journey for sure. It's not been like, oh, I have a big dream and I want to be, the most famous singer-songwriter by tomorrow. It's never been like that for me. And when I was a kid, I did have the dream of becoming a fashion designer, but that dream, and also a musician at some point because I was playing the violin. But those dreams, they got put aside for a bunch of different reasons, and then it took a while for me to allow myself to see my journey as an artistic journey. It really took a while. I had kind of stripped down that possibility and owning it again and daring to dream about being an artist and taking this journey seriously. It was a whole leap of faith in a way. So it's not, I don't take it lightly. I'm not saying it's easy at all. Not at all. But it's been wonderful, and it's just taken me some small steps Yeah, it's 8 p.m. and let's have some sun. I like that the series is called Walk It Out and not Work It Out, because it's not about work here. It's about being present and allowing myself to download through whatever I'm feeling, improvise. I really love that. It's just so natural. Mm. So, what else do I want to share tonight? I think I want us to allow ourselves to be outside of the norm, to be unconventional, to not know what's next, to fail. And it's only through those trial and errors and those failures that we learn that the true journey is within and that what's outside is just it's just a game. And funnily enough, only when we accept that truth is when we can allow ourselves to dream bigger. Bigger than what is reasonable, bigger than what others think we're capable of, bigger than what we have shown so far to the world. Which doesn't mean that what we've shown so far isn't amazing. It's already amazing. It's great. It's already carrying our frequency. So it has potential, it has power in itself. And we need to recognize that. We need to recognize that we are already familiar with our magic. And that the idea of dreaming big is just about expanding that magic and extending it to others. It's about being generous. It's not about, having a bigger ego. It's about becoming more generous with our energy. I was very touched. I was at a retreat recently and someone told me something that was both beautiful and unsettling. He said, "You need to share more of yourself. Don't be selfish." So it was the other way around. Sometimes I would think that being arrogant, I would think that being big means I'm arrogant and I'm selfish for being arrogant. I would, kind of link those things together. And what he told me was showing me the opposite, which is if I share more of myself, I'm being generous. And if I'm trying to control and trying to select what I share and to be like super measured and super like stingy in what I share, then I'm being selfish because I'm focusing on, my fears of how people might perceive me and how things might fail and how I will feel shame and humiliation for things failing or whatever. I'm just focusing on my little things, which is okay. It's part of the journey, but can I do the thing even if it's scary? Can I be generous and do the work on myself and welcome the shame and welcome the fear? That feels much more exciting to me. And this artistic journey is beautiful. And I don't know how it's going to unfold. And I don't know if, my big dream is actually what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe I will be guided towards something different. But I know it will always be artistic in one way or another. I've made this recent realization that even when I'm coaching someone, when I'm asking questions, when I'm connecting deeply, I'm actually making art. It's a type of art. It's a type of artistry. It's because making art is really connecting to yourself deeply and making magic out of it. And it can take so many shapes. So, yeah, it's a fine tuning, connecting to the present and connecting to your dreams. For me, one thing that really helps me to stay present is calling my friends. I don't have many friends. I have like 2 or 3 friends at the moment that I can call or that I can text or send voice notes to. And it brings me back to reality, to be connected to them. And I'm saying I have 2 or 3 friends, but my community of like-minded people is expanding, and I'm finding more and more people I can trust at the moment, thanks to the personal growth journey that I'm on. And yeah, I've been meeting more and more people that I trust and that I can share things with. So I'm really grateful for that, for the support that I'm receiving. And the thing that helps me dream, that allows me to dream, is how I don't know actually. I was contemplating. I think walks in nature are super helpful because nature is always growing, is always changing, and it's really bringing me some faith and hope in the fact that I'm constantly growing and that those dreams are not just dreams. So maybe nature is actually the link between the present and the future. What allows me to dream? I think having some role models, like people that I admire, that I look up to, is really powerful. People that feel real and close to me in spirit and heart. Like I can feel that our energies have something in common and they have done big things. Recently, there's been a lot of connection with the soul of Michael Jackson. I'm so beyond grateful for the movie that I've seen recently about him that has reconnected me to his music and his art and his work, his legacy. It's just incredible. It's really incredibly beautiful. What else allows me to dream big? I mean, being around people who are ambitious and people who will not discourage me and will, on the contrary, encourage me to go for it. That's super powerful. Being held by a coach, being held by a community in those dreams, instead of being shamed for them or shrunk by people who don't want me to succeed. Like having a strong support around me is making a difference for sure. One of the reasons why I could not dream big was that I was a support system for everyone else around me, but I didn't have a support system. It's very sad actually to recognize that right now for myself and be witnessed in that, but I did not have a strong support system, and I was the strong support system for all my friends and even my family for a while. Not all of my family members, but I would say my closest family. And it took me a while to allow myself to shift that and to prioritize myself and prioritize my projects and my dreams. There was so much guilt around abandoning those people that I had been so faithful to. Being faithful, being loyal was one of my biggest values. And I realized that it was not necessarily used in the right way. It was used in a way that would harm me, that was keeping me small, that was keeping me hidden behind this savior, rescuer kind of role, kind of identity, which is not me. I'm more made for the spotlight. I'm made to shine, not to not to only be a support to other people shining. And I believe that the more I allow myself to shine, the more I give permission to others to shine as well. I show them that it's possible. I show them that even when you've been in the shadow for a while, you can change course and you can allow yourself to shine. And I think the reason why I've been in the shadow for so long is that, I mean, there are many reasons for that. But one of them is that my light had been corrupted by trauma, and I was protecting myself from re-experiencing those traumas. And so it made a lot of sense for a while to stay in the shadow, to heal and to recuperate, and to also be very centered and learn about who I really am. I think if I had been exposed to the light too soon, I would have lost myself in it. I would not have had the right resources. I would not have been equipped for that kind of light if it had happened earlier. So now I'm preparing myself consciously for that spotlight, and yeah, it feels scary even to say it, because it feels like owning something that is not yet fully accomplished. But it's also part of what manifestation is about, is to own something about yourself that you know deep down is true, even if it's not visible yet, even if it's not materialized to the eyes of others yet. And trusting that you already embody a version of that light, a version of that power. Some people are able to see it already. Those people are very observant. They are a little bit visionary in their own way. And I've had people see me. I've had people tell me since I was a kid that I had a specific stage presence, that I had a specific authority, and that when I was speaking, there was something happening. When I was playing my instrument, there was something happening. And it's not just that I believed those voices blindly. I could feel that they had seen something that others didn't want to see or didn't want to name, but would still feel. And now the question is, how do I allow myself to share myself? How do I share myself in a way that doesn't corrupt the purity of my light, the purity of my message that is just about love, self-love, connection, true love, authentic love. I just want that message to be felt. I don't just want to talk about it. I don't just want to say love yourself and love others. It's not enough. Like, I want to embody as much as I can the message that I'm giving. So that's full-time work, or full-time walk, shall I say. And I want to convey this message in a way that it's being felt, that people actually have a taste of it. And that's why I sing, because I feel like when I sing, my mind goes really quiet, and I can just be love and give love in a way that it feels unlimited. And I can hold space for others to feel whatever they need to feel in the moment through the song that is channeled through me. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And I hope that in everything that I do, including this podcast, including the things that I write online or in my books. Yes, I'm writing at the moment. I already published one book in French that I'm currently writing. Novels, two novels, one in French, one in English. And it's a beautiful, beautiful creative process. And I don't know which of the books or of the music or of the podcast or of the coaching, I don't know which will be more impactful, and I don't really care, to be honest, for now. Um, I care to explore, I care to have fun, to do my best, and I care to reach people, to reach people's hearts. So, of course, I have my own preferences, I have my own like idea of what it would look like to be bigger, but I also trust that beyond what I can imagine, beyond what I can visualize, there is just a feeling. There is an energetic identity, an energetic imprint that I carry with me, and that if I allow myself to fully step into it and to embody it, my light will shine, whatever format it has to take, whatever shape it has to take. Okay, I am done with this episode of Walk It Out. I feel replenished. I feel grateful. And thank you so much for sticking with me. Maybe you listen to this on a walk or in your car, on your bike, in public transport, or at your home, at the gym. Please tell me. I would be very curious to know in the comments where you were listening to this and in which activity, if you were in activity. I'm curious about that. And do rate this podcast if you enjoyed it and share it, because it might help someone. Even if the person you think about is not an artist, maybe it's just someone who has a certain specific light to them and you want them to know that you have seen their light. It could be a beautiful gift. Thank you for witnessing me on my journey, for witnessing my vulnerable shares, my insights. And yeah, I will see you in the next one of Unsolicited Diaries. Ciao.